Okay, let's go to the video chat. I think she's by the lake. Let's see. We'll see how this goes with Kate Pettersen connection-wise. Well, hey, Kate, it looks like you're in the same spot you were the last time you were on with us. Am I right?
I am, yeah. I came back from the lake last night, so now I'm just at the farm in King City.
That makes sense. Okay, well, I was saying to Clark, if she's got a connection problem, it's because she's at the lake. I've been following what she's doing, but you're back home. It looks like it's been an unbelievable Ontario summer. Am I right?
It really has, and there's worse places to be. I've been playing a ton of golf, back into cycling. I ride a lot of horses every day, so relative to not working and not being in the mix of things that I love, this isn't a bad second spot.
So, look, we got a lot of things to talk about here, and we're going to do a career update. By the way, you're a free agent now. I didn't understand that you were on a one-year term with the Oilers, so you're looking for your next thing. So we'll talk about that, but you're obviously following what's going on with the Oilers losing out here in the play-in round. So how do you think that's playing over in the locker room and in the city?
I think it's really tough. I think they pros and cons, and you can relate it to being in Regina. There are definite pros and cons with a passionate fan base because they're educated sports fans. They really know what they're talking about. They follow day in and day out. So it's really tough. If I've learned anything in the short time that I was lucky enough to have chatting off book with Ken Holland, is that Ken Holland is a great human, a great guy, and obviously we know his track record speaks volumes. So I think that what they have established with Oilers Entertainment Group is a really great group from the top down. We know that the players want to win. They've got a lot of talent in that room. So it's just, working to put something together. And I don't think Ken Holland's the kind of guy that's going to hit the panic button. Yes, disappointing. Yes, there were some very high highs and some very low lows in the regular season that we can look back to. When we look at the best of 5 series, we can say, December was a rough month for the Oilers, but look how they turned things around and they were able to get hot when they needed to and put themselves in a playoff position. So I think, it's tough. It's sad. At the end of the day, people love sports. They want to see their team do well. And the Oilers are lucky to have an incredible and knowledgeable fan base. So it's just a question of maybe tonight's the night to hit the draft lottery hard and do well. Who knows?
Yeah, well, I was going to say it wouldn't be start all over again, but I'm hoping for the Oilers to win tonight and get number one, just for the storm it'll cause, and also because the Oilers are my number 2 team. But I got to say this to you, Kate. You're right about the Oilers versus Regina thing, and because I've compared the two fan bases a lot, because they are knowledgeable and they're that invested, and there's no doubt. But I'll see you that and raise you this. How about Winnipeg for Bombers fans? Because the 29, 30-year drought of them winning a Grey Cup, everybody was so upset at the Bombers after, 25 years. I'm like, you can't blame the current guys for what happened 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. How do you, they're so upset at Edmonton, because I hear it just like you do. I see it on social media. I've been hearing they're an immature team since 2015. That's enough. Well, that's not Dave Tippett's fault or Ken Holland's fault. I mean, you must be hearing that stuff too, right? I think that they overachieved this year under these guys, but people just want to pin the woes on everything that's gone on since 2006. Or have I misread that?
Yes and no. I think they're frustrated. And I think as a longtime fan, they have a right to be frustrated because they did have some incredible years and then they've had to go through the tough stuff. But I think that that's the reality of every franchise. You're never going to make the exact team, the perfect team. Injuries happen. We've seen that, when things happen. I mean, I'm thinking of the Leafs loss, but everyone's quick to point out injuries and things. But that's the reality of pro sports. It happens all the time. And there are a lot of injuries, I'd say probably 80%, that you don't know about, that are just lingering things going on behind the scenes, and guys are playing through them and pushing through. So yes, they have every right to be frustrated. Are all of these things Ken Holland's or Dave Tippett's fault? No, absolutely not. Will things turn around? Well, we don't really know because I keep touching back to my CFL career because it was a great example. Mark Trestman took a team that was pretty good on paper to a Grey Cup. Now, very similar the following year, they had a treacherous year. So it's just, they've got some of those key pieces. And I was in the room this year. By no means do those guys not have the fight and the drive and the will and the want to win, because that's not a question in that room. It's just putting it together. And I think injuries and the time of games and all sorts of things, there's so much to consider. So yes, they can be frustrated. Is this the end of the world? No. Do I understand why fans are a little bit disappointed? 1,000%. But no, 10 years ago, that team is completely different from what they're fronting now. And I think there were some real moments of brilliance this regular season that fans can be excited about once they finish kind of licking the wounds of the last few days.
You just said that so well, and you're right. And I will say this, Oiler fans do have a right to be frustrated. I guess my point is, don't give up. And I know they won't give up, but I do think that there are better times ahead. Now, I'm going to get to a CFL question, but our intern, Alan, who referred to himself again as a bona fide stud, I'll say it again on his Facebook page this morning. Yeah, I admire the confidence, the Asian sensation. He says, hey, Kate, who's the person that you interviewed where you thought, I love my job? Does somebody come to mind?
All of it. All of them. I mean, if we're going to the Oilers, I got to interview Wayne Gretzky this year. I hadn't met him yet. And it was a quick text from PR. We'd kind of put in a casual ask, if Wayne's around, we'd love to chat with him. And it was like, you've got 5 minutes with Wayne in 5 minutes. And I was like, what do we want to talk about? Oh my gosh, what are we going to do? So, I mean, that was pretty cool. You can't not put him up on the top of the list. But if I just keep it to this past season, I have a ton of respect for Dave Tippett. And we put together a documentary or a mini doc, and it was called The Builder, because a lot of people may not know Dave is a builder in his spare time. He loves to rebuild motorcycles and cars, and it's something he did with his dad, and that's something he's carried over, and that's sort of his hobby. That's how he unwinds. So we did a series of sit downs, and we picked some young guys, some vets, and guys that had ties to Dave Tippett. And I remember sitting there with James Neal one-on-one, and he said, my entire life I've wanted to win a Stanley Cup, and I still haven't. And the best thing would be to win one with Dave Tippett. And I just, when you have those goosebump moments and you really have a breakthrough, because, James gives good interviews, but it's hard to tap through some of that hockey persona and really get to the nitty gritty. And I probably paraphrased it wrong, but it was one of those moments where everyone in the room behind the camera was just covered in goosebumps. It was a really cool moment. And it just showed the impact that a coach has on his player, that this guy wants to win one and has always wanted to win one, but the impact of winning one with Dave Tippett would have been that much more special. So I put that on my list. You don't get a lot of time to do sit downs during the season. So that was a pretty special one this past year.
That's a great story. I got goosebumps thinking about it, actually, or hearing it. Last one, Kate, on the state of the CFL, because as you've said, you're CFL, Kate. In our world, your thoughts on what's going on with a 3-down game right now?
It's anyone's guess. But I think if we've learned anything from watching the NBA, MLS, baseball, and hockey, what the NHL has done has worked, clearly, because they're still in it. There's been no blow up, no postponed games, no canceled games. So I think if they can swing this Winnipeg thing, I know that financially it's a big challenge. The NHL has a lot more money to spend when it comes to putting on something like this. But I think from what I've seen, again, from the outside or driving past Hotel X in Toronto, and also hearing some feedback, some rumblings from players, they're making the most of it. They're having fun in the bubble. And I think that at the end of the day, CFL players are not playing because they're making millions of dollars. We know that. That's not a secret. I think they're playing because they absolutely love the game and want nothing more than to continue playing the game. So I don't know what's going to happen. I really hope that something does happen because we've seen firsthand the bubble works. Winnipeg is actually one of the only CFL stadiums I've never been to, but I've heard great things. And you mentioned the fan base. They've got an incredible fan base, of course, for the Bombers, but anyone who has that kind of a fan base has a great taste for the CFL, and they are passionate about the game itself. So I think it's a win-win. If they can find a way to get it done, the bubble seems to be safe, productive, and you know what? It would be great for the fans to get some football.
But what about the future of this league if they don't play in 2020? How damaging do you think it would be?
It's hard. It's my honest answer is incredibly difficult to go up from here. I think that every year is a battle, and it's not because the CFL fans aren't incredible and they aren't coming out and they aren't buying tickets, but it's a smaller capacity. And we talked about it the last time I was on, small businesses are struggling. And in this gigantic world of professional sports, the CFL is small. So I think it's a big challenge. And maybe there's a way that whether that's at the provincial or the federal level and try to just kind of have a rebuild. I mean, we've seen teams fold, I think, to Ottawa, and we've seen them come back stronger than ever. So maybe we draw some inspiration from that and the way the Red Blacks were able to fold, come back. But is it going to be easy? Absolutely not. I think it's a huge mountain ahead. If they don't have a season and there's no way to salvage something, then I think, too, it puts them on a different page in terms of the world of sports to be the one league that wasn't able to get anything going.
No doubt. Kate, love the visit as always. We'll enjoy what's rest of summer, and we'll chat with you here in the fall.
Thank you for having me.
All right, Kate Pettersen joining us from, I think it's north of Toronto. Came in from the lake to do the interview.
Cottage country.
Cottage country. It looks so beautiful out there.
You're watching Rod Pedersen on demand. For more of The Rod Pedersen Show, visit rodpedersen.com or follow Rod Pedersen on social media.